The harsh reality of getting that first developer job is actually worse than you might think. So if you've been following the news, something called ChatGPT, something called AI is kind of threatening a lot of people. And I see like people on Twitter being scared about AI, people scared on LinkedIn about AI. Everyone is scared. And what you don't understand yet is that the proverbial junior developer is not gonna be a thing anymore. Okay, I'm not telling you this to be making you scared and whatnot, maybe a little bit. But what you need to understand is that the barrier of entry for junior developers is extremely high. It's so high that even Snoop Dogg wouldn't be able to handle that kind of high, okay? So with that in mind, let's explore what are your options. Someone that is working a full-time job, right? You are working a 9 to 5. You are making decent money, but you are not making 6 figures yet. And you are someone that wants to work remotely and you want to be in a career where you are constantly learning new things. You are always building stuff. You're always being creative. How do you make that transition? Now you need to understand that pretty much everything and everyone is against you. Even though you might see on LinkedIn, on Reddit, wherever you are, hanging out with your friends, coder friends, junior dev friends that are broke, unemployed, or whatever, people that are actually going to pay you money, aka the companies, the tech companies, startups, whatever, they don't really care about your story. They don't care about you at all, actually. Nobody cares about you. Trust me. Nobody cares how passionate you are. Nobody cares how into programming you are. Nobody cares that you always wanted to get into programming, but for some reason you didn't do it. Nobody cares about that. And this is kind of a hard pill to swallow because you see all these developers that seem so passionate, so excited about coding. You see them coding every day non-stop, you know, always thinking about code, always tweeting about code. You see them like faking the fact that they would actually want you in their team to work with them. And that might disappoint you once you're trying to get into the industry. And the reason why you'll be disappointed is because people who are currently in the industry, they understand how difficult this job is. It's not easy. And the way to actually break this ceiling, okay, that stops 99% of people to get into the industry is by becoming a developer that they need. This sounds like, you know, such an obvious concept, but most people don't understand it. Most people spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to go to a bootcamp and they have mediocre portfolios. You've seen that. Others who do it the broke way, they spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours doing the same thing as the bootcamp grads, right? And they always do the same boring stuff. And I'm so tired of seeing everyone on LinkedIn, because that's where I spend most of my time. And that's where people seem to complain the most about this stuff. I'm so tired of seeing people with the nastiest looking portfolios, with the most basic ass portfolios, complaining that it's hard to get a job in tech. I really am tired of that. The reason why you'll have a very hard time getting a developer job is because you are doing just 5% of what a real developer would do in their day-to-day life. Let's see what that 5% is. Your apps, if you are a complete beginner, I understand. But if you have like 1 or 2 years of experience trying to get into the industry, you will know what I'm talking about. Your apps are so basic. You have a to-do app, a weather app, what else? The e-commerce clone. That's so basic. Then your designs. I know you're not a designer, but you are creating a front-facing product, a front-facing application. And people, recruiters, hiring managers will judge you by that. I know everyone is supporting you and says, wow, such a great job. But those likes, those claps, that's not cash. And the people who have the cash, they look at you and they laugh at you. Or they are like, oh, not another one. So what is the new meta, right? The new meta, I think meta means the most efficient tactical advantage, right? Meta, I think people that are playing some sort of game are using this term. Meta means the new way of doing something which is way more efficient and way better than anything else that's out there. The new meta is to build products, build a real product. It's like trying to employ yourself to your own company that solves a specific problem for a specific person or type of organization. If this sounds like woo-woo and you are already like clicking on other videos that will make you feel happy, I understand that. Go away and do that. But the new meta is to build products. And I've been focusing on this and I've been saying this for a few months already, 6 months, but it seems like everyone started to catch up on it or with it. And they are trying to do the same thing as me in one way or another. But what's missing from them is that they are never pushing the limits of what they actually have to do. So let me give you a tip here. If you are attempting to build your own product, to take the new meta and become a developer this year, next year, in 2 years from now, you need to start thinking like an entrepreneur, okay? You need to start thinking like an entrepreneur. You need to start opening your ears, hearing and listening to the people that are around you that are complaining about stuff. It doesn't have to be like physical people. It can be people on Twitter, people on LinkedIn, on Google, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever they are complaining. Listen and try to solve their problem somehow using software. It's gonna take you literally 10 days of active listening and active research to find that problem that you can solve. You don't need an idea, right? Everyone is looking for project ideas for beginners. You don't need an idea, you need a problem, and then you create a solution. And the solution is the idea for the problem. You cannot do it the other way around. You cannot look for ideas. You look for problems, then you solve the problems, you create the application. Then what you do, you really try to make that application as legit as possible. Good design, UI and UX, good or best practices reinforced. You are using the full stack, not just the front end, the back end as well. You learn about AWS, you learn about Docker, you really try to create a real company, okay? You're really trying to build that company, and then you use that as experience on your resume, right? Then you use that resume to get interviews. When the hiring managers or when the recruiters will look at your resume, not your portfolio website, because you smell like bootcamp, okay? Or you smell like Udemy developer if you have a portfolio website. Don't do that. Trust me, don't do that. You have your resume and then you describe every single thing that you've done in your product, and then you'll be given an interview. And then you'll go in front of the developers, the geeks that will be, interviewing you on a technical basis. And in that interview, you will explain to them, maybe even show them code. You're gonna explain how your product solves a specific problem, what kind of problems you encountered while solving that problem, right? And I'm gonna give you an interview tip here. If you say that your biggest problem was to set up React or Redux or to change the theme or anything that's related to code, you'll be automatically categorized as a noob. Even though you are a noob, you need to talk about higher level issues. And then you speak with those developers will ask you different things. Like, have you ever worked in a team? And probably you'll say no. Do you know how to use Git? Probably you'll say no. Do you use any coding best practices? Probably you'll say no. You need to work on these things. You need to work in a team. You need to know how to use Git and GitHub. And I'm not just talking about the tutorial, the 5-minute tutorial. Actively working with Git. Actively merging things, dealing with merge conflicts, stuff like that, okay? Then following best practices, naming your variables properly, organizing your code properly, having some sort of structure in your applications. Again, this is a bit for more advanced people, but if you're a beginner, you should also take note of these things. And then with this type of experience, you'll get more interviews and your interviews will be going way smoother. And I'm not saying it's gonna be simple, because it's not gonna be simple. It's gonna be extremely difficult. But if you keep doing whatever everyone else is doing, if you have the same apps that every bootcamp grad has, there are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bootcamp grads pushed into the market every 2-3 months. Then there are so many people that are doing the same Udemy courses as you. They have the same apps as you in their resume. They have the same resume as you. They have the same portfolio as you. How are you gonna stand out? That job, that first job is pretty much the hardest thing you'll ever do as a developer, getting that first developer job. After that is smooth sailing. But you need to get that first developer job. Because I'm telling you, like, for me, it was so difficult. I had a mentor, but it wasn't the same thing as I'm doing, right? But I had a very hard time because back in the day, people had people back then were very reluctant to hire self-taught developers. They only wanted to hire people with a degree or something like that. Now it's not the case anymore, but now there are too many people that are average or below average that nobody wants, right? So I struggled quite a lot, but then once I made that leap, once I got that first developer job, 1 year into it, I started traveling. I was working for a company in London, but then I moved to Czech Republic and I met new friends. I had a lot of fun, okay? Then I started, I went to Poland and to Croatia. I started traveling and started living this digital nomad lifestyle. 3 years into my career, I doubled or tripled my initial salary that I was making from a non-tech job. Like, life is totally different when you make 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the amount of money you would be making from your regular job right now. So let me tell you this, if you are working hard at this current job that you hate, imagine how much better would you be working a job you actually love. But to actually get that first developer job, you need to be different, okay? Hard work is important. Smart work combined with hard work will make you a savage. Peace.